Hey man, welcome back to Man Time. Today's episode we are doing deck maintenance to a John Deere 400. Welcome to Man Time. Okay, before we get started, let's do a quick walk around here and see all of the parts and pieces we need to remove to get this deck off of there. For the most part, it is fairly quick assembly and disassembly. There's two bolts, one on this side, one on the other side. Those are carriage bolts. In the deck, there's a square hole that keeps that bolt, from spinning. In the front here, we've got on either side two quick disconnect levers, I guess you could call them. But basically they're spring-loaded. You pull those out and that disconnects this front assembly. The front assembly is held on by a retaining pin on this side. And there's the pin there. You pull it out from the back side. It's captured in there. So you pull that out, rotate this handle down, and that disconnects this front part of the connection to the deck there. If you are lucky enough to own one of these John Deere 400s, they are extremely reliable. Of course, I've got mine outfitted with the bull bar, in the front there. But yeah, just been a absolute fantastic mower. Of course, I've got the, bigger ATV tires on it, so I can get around, through some of the taller grass, mud, and that sort of thing. But what you want to do is jack up the back of it here, and then that way you can shimmy the deck out. You're going to be shimmying the deck out going that way, out from under it, once you get it all disconnected. I did also want to talk about one other thing and why this is actually going on. I did somehow neglect maintenance, and it threw the belt internally there. And what usually happens, and the reason that happens, doing a root cause on it, this is Bahia grass. It is very, very dense, thick stalks of grass, and so it dulls the blades very, very quickly. That in combination with the moles and the piles of sand, very, very quickly dulls the blades. Once the blades get dull, of course the mower has to work extra hard to spin those blades through the grass. Of course, this is a 60-inch deck, and what happens then, the belt starts to stretch, and once it stretches to a certain point, the spring can't take up that slack, and then you're stuck with a belt that comes off internally. Additionally, there is one other quick connect for the drive shaft. The drive shaft, very similar to a tractor PTO. What's going on there is it's got a ball detent and a collar that retracts that ball detent. Yeah, so these are 9/16. I've replaced these probably several times over the years. The setup on these is your carriage bolt, and then it's actually got a bushing inside of there. So here's the basic components. Looks like about 1.5 inch carriage bolt, a couple washers either side of this bushing, and the bushing sits inside of the rail that comes and is hydraulically actuated for the deck to go up and down. So we are almost there. Just got to disconnect that drive shaft. On the front here, you want to disconnect it from the very front, let it hang down, and then pull the pins to have that fully disconnected. And then once you get to that point, you can just pull it free from the unit, set it forward a couple inches, and you're good to go there. All right, drive shaft. Let's see if we can get that disconnected. Just right up under here. Slip collar. Pull it back, and off it comes. Right there. There's a little slot to kind of set it, so as you're wrangling it out of there, it doesn't get hung up. Then you're going to want to rotate the tires, so the tires on the front are facing out, and makes things a lot easier that way. One of the failure points on this model here is going to be this front steering link. They use a ball and socket. I've since replaced that with a Heims style joint there. So, all right, see if we can get this out of here. Well, next step is to get the deck cover off. That's this piece here. Initially there was threads into the deck, you know, so you could just unscrew, you know, but the rust has since taken over, and I've replaced them with some bigger self-tappers in some new locations to remedy that issue. And the way this comes off, you're going to want to pull it up off of the back first, get it over that lip, and then back from there. Okay, so now I can see what happened here. The tensioner spring came completely disconnected. Let's get in here and take a closer look. Okay, so here is what we are left with, and you can see the spring buried right down in here. Right there. So it came disconnected off of this piece here. So at this point, what I like to do is tip it up and then take the garden hose and clean all this junk out, just starting over fresh. The belt is pretty worn. I may or may not have a replacement for that. Okay, so here's the deck after cleanup, and you can see the belt is, this is beyond, beyond its normal service life. And what I typically do, I've got a couple washers welded on to this swivel arm here, where I can move the spring back progressively as the belt wears. But here is a new belt. This one is B141K. This is the same belt that I'm taking off. It is a Kevlar 5/8 by 144. It seems to be the right one that fits on here. I get these off of eBay. Just look up Kevlar belt 144, and it should pop up on there for you. But 5/8 by 144, and look at the size difference on here. I mean, just an incredible amount of belt wear on there. Now, one thing, you do have to take off or loosen this one here. There's no room to get the belt in between there to take it up, so you will have to remove this pulley to get this new belt fed around. For the underside of the deck here, there's two things I'm going to do. One is take a like 2-inch paint scraper and scrape all of the crud off of here. It is very clean. And it was just serviced this spring, but we've got so much rain. This is the second service in the mowing season this year, which started back in, March, probably, with all the rain we've been getting. It's been at least once a week mowing for the past 3 months. So the blades are not sharp anymore, but they are in really good shape. One thing, there's an upside and a downside to these mulching blades, right? You got these teeth that are cutting the grass a second time and a third time, but it does put a lot of drag and a lot of stress on your belt. So I had much better longevity out of my belt before I had these mulching tines blades, but I do like the mulching feature on there, so I'll just deal with the additional belt wear. But yeah, these aren't dinged up. They're still in good shape, just dull. All right, for the sharpening, I just sharpen it while it's on the deck here, using one of these flapper wheels. Got a fresh one. This one is 120 grit. So this portion of it is a little bit tricky. Hopefully we've got a nice overhead for you there. I did, like I said, do a video on this several years back. But yeah, it is it is definitely time. So we got the PIX 5/8 by 144 B141K-5L1440K, made in India, and this I have found fits pretty good, and the durability on it is very good, and it is about the same price as the John Deere. I have actually had better luck with this than the John Deere replacement, so there is that. But let's just start with kind of this part of it here. Now you are going to want to take a picture of this before you get started, because it is a pretty complicated serpentine type of system here. So let's see here. Yeah, I'm just going to start replacing as I take off, because it gets a little complicated. The first time I did this, I did find a YouTube video where somebody had, you know, this model and stuff. Yeah, so around here, that, and then we'll just kind of move everything coming this way. Looks like this is coming down and around here, so we'll take that off, put this on, and around here, like that, and then it's going to come down and around through here. Now I did get this loosened from the back side, so we can move that out of the way, and get this off of there, like that. So I think that is pretty well the shooting match. This one here, we're going to come in between these two. That's kind of the tricky part there. But yeah, it looks like that pretty well does it. While I'm in here, I'll clean up some of this gunk that kind of got trapped up under here, and do one more spray off before we put it back together here. But there is a spacer underneath this one somewhere. Nope. It just connects right down onto there, it looks like, and does not. Okay, so yeah, there's a bearing surface there. So that is just going to sit there. And then you, of course, got your nut and lock washer on the other side of it. All right, there we go. And then the last thing is going to be hooking up our spring for the tension. And what I'm going to have to do there, like I said, I've got additional washers, and I'm in the second one. I'm going to have to come off, come back into this first one, and then hook it up that way with a pair of locking pliers. So that's it. One last look before we button it up here. There is one, well, actually two grease zerks. You got one right there on the top of the gearbox, and then there is another one right there on that tensioner pulley. Both of those are greased, ready to go. Of course, there's the new belt on there. And then under here, went through and cleaned all of the surfaces and sprayed it off one more time. Of course, sharpened the blades. You can see they're nice and sharp. And I do like to offset them like that. You got one sideways and then two vertical. They're going to move around, you know, as you're mowing, but I like to start there. All right, man. Well, that was the full service on the John Deere 400 lawn mowing deck. This mower is as old as I am. I was telling that to somebody at work, like I've got almost a 45-year-old mower, and they were like, "What is the mower, you?" I was like, yeah, you know, I keep it running. But yeah, John Deere 400, one of the best mowers out there if you find one. These things with a good deck on it. This one I actually had to dig out of the ground. Done several repairs to both the pulleys and the deck itself. I can see a couple rust holes there I've got to get repaired, but that's going to have to be some other day. I need to get this lawn mowed here. it's coming up on summertime. Videos are going to slow down a little bit. Might be less than once a week. So if you like this type of stuff, make sure to subscribe to catch all of the videos as they come out throughout this hot, hot summer. That's going to do it for today on Man Time. Get out there. Have you some man time too.